so we're here. We went over armbar escapes, right, and the principles of it. Someone, aka you, tell me what the principles were, the first two that I told you about.
Back to you.
Back to you, Tom.
It was getting your elbows or your shoulders clear.
Mm.
Was one of them.
Elbows not being shelved,
Yeah.
right,
Shelved.
and shoulder mobility.
Yeah.
So the same thing applies here, right? So when we straighten our hands and stuff like that to get out of this, when people are like, oh, I'm just going to do this, what are they actually doing? They're moving the shelf of their elbow, right? They're not removing a submission because now I'm right into an armbar, right? And I've shelved it into a different angle and a different spot of force, right? But realistically, if I could do something more like this, or this, right? Now, my elbow is not shelved, right? And how he's doing in Americana is a traditional way of doing it, if that makes sense. And my elbow, how it is shelved, is very predictable, right? So like even if I just did this and pulled it in, now elbow is not shelved, and my shoulder mobility is now increased so I can move, right? Man, I kind of needed someone today to show what I want to show, but it's okay. Anyway, so again, don't let your elbows get shelved. If this other hand's in here for the fight, why does that help? Right? Now my elbow's not shelved. Right. How do we increase shoulder mobility? Well, even if he's doing something, how would you pin me down to the ground right now? Right? See how he's pinching my sides in, right? All he's actually doing is trying to control my shoulder, right? So as soon as I come here, if I straighten, trying to get the shelf to break, trying to buy myself time, right? You see how I've opened up this space here?
Yep.
Or anything of this nature, right? All I'm going to do is either start to rotate into it or rotate out of it. You're really just trying to free this up, right? Any arm lock, you want to be able to free your shoulder movement. Everyone tracking that? All right. I want you to get in that position and just move. Where you're going to find the most tension is where you're going to find where your elbow is shelved, right? And your shoulder mobility gets limited, right? You're going to get the closest in either direction, right? This goes the same for Kimura. They are the same thing, they're just inverted. Does that make sense? Tracking? All right, get in that position and give it a feel. That's a silly long video for no reason. Why is Americana most commonly done from side control? It's easier to control the line. It is much easier for me to put downward pressure or chest-to-chest contact onto his shoulders. I'm increasing the ability to pin his shoulder, right? What am I controlling? His shoulder. Even if I literally just hug him and started to push down on his elbow, I can cause tension. 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 All those make sense now, right? I've done nothing other control his shoulder. But why does it work so well when we do Americanas and stuff like that? Well, I'm controlling the rotation of his chest, aka I'm controlling his shoulders. His shoulder mobility is very limited here, right? For me to apply pressure or anything is super easy. And remember, you can always contract or extend here, right? You are not limited the closer you get to the torso. The further away from the torso, you have to decide whether or not you are doing extension or you're trying to do it where you're at. You have no contraction. Contraction has less of an effect, right, the further away you are from the body. Does that make sense? When you're at this joint, contraction still has an effect, right? Does that make sense? You okay? Uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so contraction has an effect here, where extension also has an effect. Does that make sense? So you can't just be like, oh, this person's only going to extend on me. You can only break someone's arm if you're doing an arm bar through extension. that make sense? That is not the case here. Same thing, if I get closer, and I'm doing some kind of shoulder lock or a choke, right? You have contraction and extension. The closer you are to the torso, the more options you get. Does that make sense? Perfect. Cool. All right. So, from the top side, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to pin him and rotate and apply shelf pressure, correct? I'm here, here, and there. I can provide contraction or extension either way. Doesn't really matter, right? As the bottom person, I want to limit their ability to do such things. So when I'm doing something like this, what have I done? I broke chest-to-chest contact, but I freed my shoulder mobility. He's still shelved right now, but right now, I can either fight back, get my shelf out, right? Or I can just be like, okay, I don't want to be pinned anymore. Why do you not see Americanas from other spots?
Ineffective.
Not only ineffective, go ahead and lay back down. Let's say I try to attack an Americana from the same side. How do I keep him pinned? Right? So the concept here is if his shoulder mobility, right, is there, then I can't get this. Does that make sense? If he has free shoulder mobility, he can take my back, right? He can just literally move away. He could roll. He can do all kinds of stuff, right? And this lock has no bearing because he can move. As long as he can move, this doesn't do anything. Does that make sense? Right? Now, if you can never break it and you can tire him out, cool, you win. But what you're looking to do is increase your shoulder mobility. How do you do that? Really up to you.
Stretches.
Right? But I would say better positioning is the true key, right? If someone's in side control and they're starting to go for this key lock on you, if you put them in line with you, aka pulling back into guard, or if you go north-south, these things will not work very well. Does that make sense? So try to put me in a key lock. So we're here, and I'm like, oh, I don't like it. What have I done? Just from right here. Can he get this key lock anymore? No. He might be able to get an armbar if he's like really lucky or good, but probably not. Right? This is why you don't see key locks at high levels. Right? These are Americana finishes or Kimuras. They're less. Right? Because they're easier to defend because all I have to do is increase my shoulder mobility. Right? So if all I had to do was that, let's go the other direction. No. Go. Right? I'm like, oh, I'm trapped. What did I do? I now freed my shoulder, right? Sure, my hand might be there, but now it's you. Cool. Now we can fight. Does that make sense? Okay, give that a try. All right, let's say I'm super late to the party, right? We have an over, we have an under, right? And we also have our feet, right? If these are our proclivities, right, I'm going to turn into it to lessen. What is he truly trying to attack? He's trying to attack my shoulder. So I'm going to take my hand. If I was coming over, I'm going to connect them, bring them in, like so, right? And from here, I'm going to start to post and drive out, keeping my elbow. Where am I? You see this yet? Mm-hmm. See, I'm coming to shelf. Yeah, no, don't do that. Anyway, so I'm going to be here. I'm going to come over. I'm going to turn my body, right? And I'm going to connect my hands when I do this. And then from here, I'm going to drive my elbow. Just from this one, he's already very uncomfortable for this hand. See how he did this himself? Now I'm going to drive this and connect it. Make sense?
So you slide it down your shin.
I'm connecting my elbow and my knee, right?
Not like he was connecting it from his forearm to his shin, like sending
Yeah.
it to it.
So I am, just like I was passing off your hand, I'm doing a handoff. Right, so Americano. Bam, bam. I'm coming over, it's supported, right? I'm going to feed right here. And you see how I'm doing all this silly shit with my hands, my feet and all that? Even if I just hook it like this and do this, same outcome. So I still don't like it.
Yeah.
That is a technical way of doing an over version, right? Does that make sense? Alright, give that a try. Cool. Alright, so I'm here. I'm gonna go under. I can connect a head, arm, anything of that fashion, right? But what I'm trying to do is prevent the shelf, right? How hard was that? The under, I think, is more powerful. Me. And the reason why I think it's more powerful because it brings your torso into the fight easier. Here, I'm kind of extended and fighting at a point of extension. I don't really like that. So what I'm looking for is to come back into the Americano, to get this hand in, and then you see how I've rotated flat again, or not being flat? And here, even if I just come here, I can go for wrist locks, other things on my own, right? I can come and I can break the grip, or I can simply come over, get Domin's head. How are they going to keep me pinned? Right, so go for your Americano while I have your head. Now, as soon as I lose the head, rough, right? So I don't suggest you stay there, but if you can get the head, get control. That is an option. Don't recommend it as like your go-to, but I mean, hey.
I like the bringing the arm.
Yeah,
through. That
once
kinda
your
felt-
arm gets
that
through,
felt better.
it is way more powerful to either just connect your hands, right? Connect to their head, or even come back. Hand comes through. Just keep pushing through. I know that sounds silly. If you just keep going, you're just gonna take them over.
You just stand up.
Correct.
If you
It's
just stand
not
up,
really-
I
it
know.
doesn't exist.
I know it's silly.
Wouldn't you risk of getting a back tape for that?
You could try. So think about it. Right. Come here. Come in. I'm here. Turning to my side. Right. And I keep going.